I don't know if you saw it. We did a graduate thing. We're organizing. I hadn't realized. We had dozens and dozens of campuses. In fact, the largest application for an NLRB was from one of the colleges.
Exactly. Amazing.
Oh, that's
Great.
not the right one.
Inspiring.
Yeah, that's. Do I paperclip them or will it stay? It's fine.
It is a big deal. So thank you for adding your
That's great.
platform to that.
Now we are going to stay on that. Thank you very much for being here. Great. Hi. Thank you very much. Hi. Good.
Mr. Sanders, on behalf of USSW's Union of Southern Service Workers, we present you with these shirts.
Oh,
This is our shirt.
beautiful shirt.
That's the news for the Union of Southern Service Workers in the South, the union that we started.
Good deal. That's wonderful.
And he got the other shirt. He raised up the original Fight for 15 shirt.
All right. Thank you.
And just don't
Yeah.
pay attention to this. Pay attention to this one. Scott, your
Yeah.
intros here.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all very much for coming out for what I think is an important occasion. And let me begin by thanking Liz Schuler, who is the president of the AFL-CIO, representing 12.5 million workers throughout our country. Liz will be speaking in a moment. We thank her for all that she is doing. Let me also thank Mary Kay Henry, the president of SEIU, who represents over 2 million workers, and Mary Kay will be speaking in a moment as well. And let me thank Heidi Scherholz, the president of the Economic Policy Institute, for being with us this morning. I'm not sure how many people she represents, but she's a good economist. Let me thank the workers who are here this morning, Tara Thompson, Elsa Calvan, and Mama Cookie Bradley. The reason that we are assembled here this morning is not complicated. In the year 2023, in the richest country in the history of the world, nobody should be forced to work for starvation wages. That's not a radical idea. If you work 40, 50 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. It is time to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And as chairman of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, that is exactly what I intend to see happen. Today in America, it is unacceptable that while the richest people become much richer, over 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. And everybody up here, I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. Everybody here knows what that means. Your car breaks down, your kid gets sick, you're suddenly in a financial disaster. This should not be happening in America. Let us be clear, and I don't think there's any debate about this. Nobody in this country can survive on $7.25 an hour. And maybe some of my colleagues in Congress might want to live for a month on $7.25 an hour and see what that's like. You can't make it on $9 an hour. You can't do it on $12 an hour. We need an economy in which all of our workers earn a living wage. It is not acceptable today that nearly 35 million American workers earn less than $17 an hour. Further, it is a national disgrace, and I want you all to consider this. The minimum wage in this country, Congress has not passed a minimum wage increase since 2007. World changed a little bit since 2007. Congress has not acted 16 years ago. Yes, now is the time to raise the minimum wage. And let's be clear, this is not a radical idea. The overwhelming majority of Americans support raising the minimum wage to the living wage. Doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. People support and understand that workers need a living wage. And this is not only what polls tell us. The pollsters go out to, we raise the minimum wage, people say yes. It is also what we are seeing in state after state. As a result of years of congressional inaction, cities and states all across the country are taking the low-wage crisis that we face into their own hands, doing the right thing, and raising their minimum wage. In November of last year, nearly 60% of the people in Nebraska is not generally known as one of the most progressive states in this country. 60% of the people there, a state with a Republican governor and 2 Republican senators, voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And I thank the people of Nebraska. But it tells you that this is not a red issue, not a blue issue. It's an American issue. In November of 2020, 61% of the people in Florida, a state that Joe Biden lost by more than 3 points, voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Today, 13 states in America have approved a $15 minimum wage. And you know what? As a result of inflation, $15 an hour back in 2021 would be over $17 an hour today. So I am delighted to announce this morning that on June 14th, the Senate Health Committee will be marking up a bill to raise the minimum wage to $17 an hour over a 5-year period. Now it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce Tara Thompson. Tara is a service worker from Utahville, South Carolina. Tara, thanks very much for being with us.
Good evening, everyone. As y'all know, my name is Tara Thompson, and I am from Utahville, South Carolina. I am a mother of 3 and a proud member of the Union of Southern Service Workers. In my hometown of South Carolina, minimum wage is still $7.25. I have worked many low wages jobs. As McDonald's, it was paying me $8. I worked for Dollar General, and I made $11. I've been struggling to feed my kids and to even pay my bills. Last year, we went on strike with some other co-workers from Dollar General. We demand higher pay, safer workplace, and not to be left alone in the store. See, low wages normally go along with unsafe work conditions and no voices on the job. Now I have a new job. I work at 547 King Street in Charleston, where I make $17 an hour for the first time in my life. Making $17 is finally taking some of the pressure off of me. I still struggle to support my family, but I'm finally able to pay my bills on time. But I have to drive an hour and a half to Charleston to work, and also walk 4 blocks just to get there. All the jobs near my home in Utahville, South Carolina, is only paying very low wages. That's why we need to raise minimum wages across the board. The fight is not over. I will keep speaking up to demand fair minimum wages. I will keep organizing with other workers across the South to turn these jobs into good working union jobs. I thank y'all today.
All right. This is a woman, as are the others, of great courage. And I want to thank Tara. I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you all
Thank
that
you.
you're doing for
Thank you.
millions of workers throughout this
Thank
country.
you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elsa Cecilia Galvan. She is a worker leader with Dreamer Mothers in Action. Elsa?
Good morning. Mi nombre es Elsa Cecilia Galván. Yo soy miembro de Madres Soñadoras en Acción. Soy originaria de Tequila, Jalisco, México, y he vivido aquí en Virginia por más de 23 años, donde mi esposo y yo estamos criando nuestros 4 hijos. Durante los últimos años yo he trabajado como cuidadora de niños, limpiadora de casas y actualmente también limpio un dealer.
Let her translate.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Elsa Calvan. I'm a member of Dreamers Mothers in Action. I'm originally from Jalisco, Mexico, and have lived in Virginia for 23 years, where my husband and I are raising 4 children.
Durante los últimos 10 años yo he trabajado como limpiadora de casas, cuidando niños, y actualmente trabajo por las noches limpiando un dealer. Por lo general tengo que tener 2 o 3 trabajos para poder tener los ingresos que necesitamos en el hogar.
Over the last 10 years, I have worked as a house cleaner and a child care worker. I usually have to work 2 or 3 jobs at one time to make enough.
Esto no es suficiente para tener los ingresos en nuestro hogar, pues está ahorita la situación muy difícil. No tengo un seguro médico, he tenido que pasar por implantes dentales y que eso es algo muy caro.
Even with working multiple jobs, I am still struggling. Right now, I do not have health care, and I'm currently going under dental procedures that are expensive.
Tengo muchas preocupaciones financieras, trabajamos de cheque a cheque y no podemos, y solamente para poder pagar nuestra hipoteca y los servicios públicos.
I have a lot of financial worries. I work paycheck to paycheck to pay for utilities and the mortgage. I cannot afford.
Me preocupa mi familia porque no tenemos los ingresos estables. Mi esposo y yo ganamos por hora y trabajamos horas impredecibles.
I worry for my family because we don't have a steady income coming in. My husband and I make an hourly wages and work on predictable hours.
Mis 2 hijos mayores que también están en la escuela y ellos trabajan también para poder ayudarnos.
My oldest children who are still in school work to support our family.
También tengo que cuidar de mi padre de 94 años que vive en mi pueblo y tengo que poder enviar remesas para poder ayudar a mi familia.
I also help to take care of my 94-year-old father who lives in Jalisco by sending money back home.
Necesitamos una ley para aumentar el salario mínimo por $17 la hora para aliviar un enorme peso que tenemos cargando.
A law to increase the minimum wage to $17 per hour will lift some of this huge weight that I'm carrying.
Así podremos respirar un poco más tranquilos acerca de tener una seguridad financiera con mi familia, incluso ser capaz de poder comprar mi propio auto.
And that would relieve me and be able to allow me to afford a car that I have been saving for.
Quiero agradecer al senador Sanders por apoyar la legislación para asegurar que las trabajadoras del hogar como yo podamos ganar un salario digno.
I want to thank Senator Sanders for supporting this legislation to make sure that domestic workers like me can earn a livable wage.
Es especialmente importante porque los trabajadores domésticos fuimos abandonados intencionalmente cuando se creó el salario mínimo federal en la década de 1930.
It is especially important because domestic workers were intentionally left out when the federal minimum wage was created in the 1930s.
Y se tomó hasta la década de 1970 para que los trabajadores domésticos finalmente se incluyeran.
And it took until 1970s for domestic workers to finally be included.
Esta legislación nos ayudaría a arreglar este legado de exclusión. Muchas gracias.
This legislation will help fix the legacy of exclusion. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mama Cookie Bradley, who is a founding member of the Union of Southern Service Workers, who has worked in fast food for more than 30 Yes, Mama Cookie.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone today? Hi, my name is Mama Cookie Bradley. I'm a home health care worker and a member of the Union of Southern Service Workers. Yes, sir. Yes, that's right. I have been with Fight for 15 and a union for many years. In the South, we really need a union. And along with them unions, we need fair wages that we can actually build our lives on. In the South, minimum wage is still sitting at $7.25. It hasn't gone up in over 14 years. But the cost of living is getting higher every day. I mean, higher every day. We need federal minimum wage raised. We need it. As a home health care worker, I make just $12 an hour. I worked in fast food for over 30 plus years, and I never made $15 an hour. And now 15 isn't even enough for what we're going through today. Workers in my city, Durham, North Carolina, we can't even afford health care because we can't make the wages. We can't get fair housing, affordable housing, because inflation is higher. We need to raise federal minimum wage. Let me say that again. We need to raise federal minimum wage. I fight so hard so the generations like this young lady here at 17 is working hard already won't have to fight and struggle as hard as I've had to fight all my life at 64 years old and I'm still working. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep organizing because every worker has the right to fair pay and a union. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Heidi Schreiholz, who is with he is the president of the Economic Policy Institute. Heidi, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Okay, I am an economist, and I can confirm that we know the economics of the minimum wage. That our opponents will often try to make it seem like there's real ambiguity about it, but I am here to tell you that that is not true. The economic impacts of minimum wage increases are one of the most studied things in the entire field of economics, and the weight of that evidence shows that minimum wage increases, they raise the wages of our lowest wage workers, they reduce inequality, they reduce poverty, they reduce child poverty, they reduce gender wage gaps, they reduce racial wage gaps, because black and brown workers, due to the broad impacts of structural racism on our labor market, are disproportionately concentrated in the lowest wage jobs who will see a raise when the minimum wage goes up. Raising the federal wage floor disproportionately helps workers in this country's lowest wage regions, like the South, who have been left behind as other states have raised their minimum wages. The minimum wage also has broader positive effects. For example, it improves infant health. It reduces child abuse and teen pregnancy. It reduces suicides. It reduces recidivism for former prisoners. And I will be remiss if I don't mention that raising the minimum wage does all of this without causing substantial job loss. It does, however, reduce job turnover. And that's good for productivity, that's good for employers and consumers. Okay, so we have all that, but somebody may still ask, all right, but haven't wages for low-wage workers naturally grown in the tight labor markets of the pandemic recovery? Yes, they have. But so has the cost of living. So just to give you an idea of this, $17 today has roughly the same purchasing power as $15 did just 2 years ago. It is a disgrace that we have allowed the minimum wage to languish in the way that it has. The federal minimum wage is now more than 40% below in real terms than it was 55 years ago. All right, I want to end with just one more quick point. When you raise the minimum wage, It makes our economy stronger. The policies of the last 4+ decades that have increased inequality, like allowing the floor to drop out of minimum wage workers, those policies have not just raised inequality, they have also slowed overall economic growth. And the way that happens is because overall spending falls as inequality shifts incomes away from low and middle income households, who are the ones who are most likely to spend that money immediately on necessities, and shifts income towards higher wage households, who are the ones who have the luxury to save, not spend. Inequality slows growth. Weak minimum wages slow growth. Policies that help ensure that our economy works for everyone, like raising the federal minimum wage, are also the very policies that can make our economy stronger, more resilient, and faster growing. And I will leave it there.
You said a lot. Thank you, Heidi. She said a lot in a few minutes. Good economist. All right. Liz Schuler is the president of the AFL-CIO, representing 12.5 million workers. Liz?
All right. Thank you, Senator. Awesome. I don't know about you. It's a little cool out here. It's a little breezy, but I'm feeling the fire. Are you feeling the fire, Senator? I'm feeling the heat because the workers, Elsa, Tara, Mama Cookie, said it best. And most of the people I'm talking to who are making minimum wage, dishwashers, McDonald's workers, Walmart greeters, childcare workers, you name it, many of whom are single moms, workers of color who have never been given the same opportunities, elderly workers who are just trying to get by. They've gone back to work in many instances. Here is what they tell me. I can't afford food for my kids. I can't afford to see a doctor when things go wrong. I work 40 hours a week and I can't afford rent on a 1-bedroom apartment. I might be evicted. Can we take a second and realize how broken this system is? That is happening, how infuriating it is that this is happening. And I share your outrage, Senator, that we live in a country with wealth on levels never seen before in human history. $30 million homes, right? Mega yachts, billionaires who fly rockets into space, while we have people who work 40 hours a week but cannot live with basic dignity. It's wrong. It has to end, and it has to end now. And I remember a couple years ago, 2021, when the Raise the Wage legislation came up, and the National Restaurant Association, the big lobbying group, put out a statement that said it is the wrong time to discuss the minimum wage. And I bet they say it again today. Let's wait and see. I dare them to look in the eyes of a worker making the minimum wage, a worker who showed up during the pandemic, who delivered our food, who cared for sick people, and say it is the wrong time. To those workers in retail, childcare, restaurants, you heard it, on the front lines, it is not the wrong time, it is past time. It is past time. We have a minimum wage that, as was said, lost 27% of its purchasing power since it was raised 14 years ago. And this jump from $7.25 to $17 is not radical. It is common sense. And what that jump means in someone's life is just stunning. Our team sat down with a group of care workers making the minimum wage last week. We were all at a big summit together, and we asked them, what is the first thing you would do if you saw the minimum wage jump to $17 an hour? You can imagine what they said? Well, it surprised us because almost to a person, They said what Mama Cookie and Tara and others said. I would quit my second job. I would quit my third job. I would finally have time to spend with family. I would have a few hours to maybe relax, right, at the end of a day. That is what this bill means to working people, basic dignity and freedom. And I find it so telling these CEOs that cry wolf about the legislation in public turn around behind closed doors and say something completely different, say on an earnings call where I think it was the McDonald's CFO said, hey, we'll be fine. A minimum wage of $17 will actually be good for the economy, right? That's in private. And I may never say this again in my life, but that CFO was right. Listen to a CFO like that, right? When we put money in the hands of working people, when we give workers the basic dignity they deserve, it means economic growth, as Heidi said. It means better lives, and it is good for everyone. And the AFL-CIO is so proud to stand with the workers you see here today, workers all across this country, Senator Sanders and others, right alongside you fighting today and every day until we get this passed. We're going to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Mary Kay Henry is president of the SEIU. Mary Kay?
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Thank you for being a champion. Thank you for taking this minimum wage bill and making Congress debate it one more time. We need to raise the minimum wage in this country once and for all. I agree with my sister, Liz Schuler. It is way past time. And when we fight together, we win. When we fight together, we win. When we turn out the vote, we win. And we are going to be watching any congressperson, senator, or in the House that dares to say that they are not going to vote yes for Senator Sanders' bill, because they need to be held accountable at the ballot box. And we understand that we stand on the shoulders of some brave fast food workers in New York who dared to dream in November of 2012 and demand 15 and a union. And at that time, the debate around the minimum wage was between $9 and $10. And they were scoffed at and laughed at. They were spit on. And over the course of time, you heard Senator Sanders talk about how employers have raised the minimum wage to 15. Many states have raised it. We've had cities raise it. In the South, we've gone to 15. But what happened? White state legislatures overrode the ability of those cities to raise wages by saying it can only happen at the state level. And that's why federal action is necessary for tens of millions of Americans. We now are going to stand with Senator Sanders in pressing for the $17 minimum wage, and we're going to keep organizing, because every worker in the South, Mama Cookie, also deserves to take that minimum wage, get into a union, and bargain wages beyond that minimum so that everybody can do better in this country. So thank you, Senator Sanders, for being a champion. We are going to be an army with you. We are going to make those votes happen. And if they don't, they're going to get ejected in November of 24. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mary Kay. You know, I want to thank Mary Kay and Liz and Heidi for their remarks, but mostly I want to thank all of the people behind me. These are the folks who keep our economy going. And these are heroes and heroines who are standing up not only for themselves, but for their kids and for future generations. Frankly, it is embarrassing for us to be here today and have to talk about a reality where people need to work 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table for their kids. At the time, as Liz mentioned, when you have billionaires who don't know what to do with their money, buying yachts, going off into outer space. So the time is long overdue when we create an economy that works for all of us, not just the few. And this legislation is a beginning to do just that. Thank you all very much. Okay, media have any questions? Yeah.
Senator Sanders, in March of 2021, 8 Democrats voted against adding $15 minimum wage to the American Rescue Plan. Will there be any political consequences? Specifically, Kirsten Sinema is running as an independent. Will you support her Democratic challenger next year?
Well, right now we're focusing on making sure that we have the votes in the Senate and the House to raise the minimum wage. And as you've heard today, this is a popular issue. I don't think there's a state in the country where people do not believe we should raise the minimum wage. I would hope that every member of Congress understands that, and there will be political consequences, as Mary Kay said, if they don't. Yeah.
Senator Sanders, what do you say?
You're with whom?
I'm with Epic Times.
Happy Times?
Epic Times.
Epic Times, okay.
What do you say to the criticisms that, as Ms. Schuler mentioned, the McDonald's CFO says in private, oh, we can handle that, but what do you say to criticisms like the local burger shop across the street can't handle it, and you end up with more consolidation into the big companies?
No, they can handle it, and the point is, we're not just talking about one burger shop. The beauty of a national minimum wage is all wages go up for all burger shops.
But you're increasing the cost of business for the small burger shops.
Well, we're not increasing the cost of business. When these people are able to earn a living wage, you know what? Maybe they're going to be able to go out and buy a damn hamburger. All right, from the media, yeah. You're with whom?
The Guardian.
Yeah.
What do you see as the trajectory of this bill in this Congress? Do you intend to put it on the Senate floor for?
Yeah, we're going to push it as quickly and as hard as we can. Look, frankly, what can I tell you? The last minimum wage bill passed by Congress was in 2008. Do you think it's time to raise it? I do. Most Americans do. So we're going to do our best to get this onto the floor as soon as we can. Yes. You're with whom?
Basil John with Nexstar. So some of your Republican colleagues, like Senator John Cornyn, they say that a $17 minimum wage cannot happen. He's saying that it should be a state-by-state basis rather than a federal. What is your response to that? Why do you think he says that?
Well, when states do the right thing, people like Senator Cornyn say it should be the federal government that do it, not the state. And you've heard instances here actually where cities have done the right thing, but overruled by the state. So, they keep changing their tune. Sometimes they love the federal government to act, sometimes they want the state government to act. But the truth of the matter is, and I would ask this to Senator Cornyn, does he think that anybody in any state in America can live on $7.25 an hour, on $9 an hour, on $12 an hour? We need to raise the minimum wage in 50 states in this country. It's a national issue. All right, thank you all very much.